With E3 firmly behind us now, we turn our attention to what I'm going to dub as Review Week, where all week long I am going to be dropping in a new playlist of just game reviews. Some of these I picked up from the E3 free beta that I went through. Some of them are games that I bought and I finally got around to beating, but either way, here we are. First up is going to be Anvil, and that's what you're actually taking a look at now. This is by a brand new studio called Action Square. It is going to come out in September, so this is just an early beta. There's no early access or anything. You can wishlist this on Steam. I also believe it is on Xbox to try out as well. It is a top-down roguelike twin-stick shooter, very similar to my beloved Nuclear Throne, with a obviously very different aesthetic. I get a lot of Halo and Destiny vibes from this game. But essentially, you're going to play as a breaker, which is a person who is sent out to go to these vaults and to try to collect all the treasures within. I don't know if there's going to be much of a plot to this other than pretty much every other twin stick shooter. It's just survive and get to the end, get the best loot you can. This is a roguelike game. This does have obviously randomly procedurally generated levels. This also does have rewards that you can unlock, which makes subsequent playthroughs a little bit easier. Permanent upgrades, character skins, you can unlock other characters. There's a permanent skill tree. It's got really a lot of different avenues in order to kind of customize your character the way you see fit, which I like. There's actually also, as you can see here, you're going to be able to, at some point, acquire these pets that will follow you around, which do various buffs as well. Although I'm not entirely sure you're going to need them. You know, that's one of these things when you get into these early games, clearly take it with a grain of salt. If there's graphical errors or sound errors, I get it. It's early access or in a beta form. It's not meant to be perfect. And this game is not perfect. There is some significant balancing issues with it, but it's still fun. And I think you get a good flavor for what the game will be like. So I decided to go with this character because I just thought she looked cool. And as you guys know, I like to play as women because of my whole story with Samus Aran and how much I love that. But I picked her because I saw the teleport ability, honestly, and it reminded me of the Sorceress from Diablo 2. So her, every character is going to have a set of abilities. They're all on a cooldown. Some of them take a little bit longer to cool down than others, like your ultimate abilities. And then, in this case, this character's spacebar ability, which is kind of their action ability, she has a teleport. One of the other characters has a speed buff, and then one of the other characters who's melee-based, Guillotine, he actually has a energy shield that he holds down, which absorbs incoming damage, which is really, really cool. So you're going to find a lot, and these are the only ones you're able to play with right now. Obviously, there are more you got to unlock by, I assume, buying the game or just playing a ton in this demo. I'm not really sure. They were all locked except for these three, but you're going to find a play style that suits you, whether you want to be kind of a frontline tank or you want to play more ranged or more mid. There are a lot of different characters and a lot of different play styles to suit, kind of how you want to play. And then obviously how you spec your character as well. And that's what it really makes, these roguelike games so fun to me, is no two runs are ever the same. You're going to play a game very, very different each time based on these relic chests you get. So as you are playing the game, you're going to earn these currencies, which is, I don't know what, I guess it's just relic, I'm not sure. But you see at the top center there I have 70. And then I can go ahead and spend to upgrade as I find these chests. Now, I could have bought all three if I had the money. That's something that's a little different about this game than some of the other roguelites I've played, where typically they give you a choice. And it's like, okay, here are three abilities to select from. You can pick one of these three only. The other two are gone away and either go back into rotation or permanently gone on this run. Not with this game, and that's where I kind of get into some of the balancing issues, because it's very clear, and you'll see as I progress through this, you're going to get insanely strong, especially when there are waves and waves of enemies coming at you. You're killing them all. You're getting insane amounts of money, and you're also, going to every chest, and you're not even making choices. You're just buying everything because you have the money to do so. So early on, I think, yes, there are definitely some trade-offs. Do you want to have more HP? Do you want to have your abilities to cool down faster? Do you want to have enemies do more damage would you rather do more damage to enemies the closer you are versus the farther you are, or whatever? There's a ton of different things, and I think you can make some really fun synergies the more you start to understand this game and what character you've selected. For me, it seems like this particular character is best at range, and you will see that a lot of the abilities I get are stacked towards when I have a certain amount of HP, I do more damage, or my, just my natural damage is just higher. I didn't really invest a lot of points in health, which at the time, up through the first couple levels, didn't seem like a very big deal. You'll also notice things like that teleport pad that I'm trying to check out right here, where that is actually not for this character. So even though the maps are procedurally generated, there are natural paths for each character to take, which is actually really cool. So if you're playing with the melee character Guillotine, he actually can activate those teleporters since he doesn't have a fast movement ability like she does, where she can teleport briefly to kind of move out of the way. He doesn't have that, so he just can walk these teleporters. And then I'll take him to a totally different section of the map, which is cool. Again, it's all procedurally based. It's interesting that they left in some of the mechanics for certain characters in all the map. I think it was probably just a design choice, but it's interesting to think like what could have been if you were playing as a different character. The combat is fast and furious for the most part, and I wouldn't classify this as like a bullet hell game. It's definitely not on the level of Endgame Nuclear Throne or Under the Gungeon for sure. It's a very methodical shooter, at least the way I played it. It's very easy to funnel back into the previous area you were in, forcing enemies to kind of loop through natural checkpoints to burn them down quickly. Most of the enemies do not give me much of a challenge at all because a lot of them I'm either shooting completely off screen or at such a distance they can't get to me. I think I found some pretty decent guns early on that added some electricity damage, which just seemed to do a lot of damage in of itself. And I didn't find myself using my skills as much as I thought I would have, or honestly as much as I thought I should have. That's where I kind of feel the balancing is a bit off, because I'm just going to stand here at range and absolutely melt down this guy. He's not even going to get close, and you see how fast I'm chunking his health. Now, I'm not even using any of my abilities. This is just my standard left click. I didn't use anything. I used my space bar to get away because, oh crap, the enemy's close. I went with my right mouse click here, but it didn't have enough range, and oh, the enemy is dead. And it's that fast. But you will see at the end, things go horribly wrong. So balancing definitely is something I feel like these guys can absolutely work on to make this game more enjoyable. But I do like the concept, and I like the art style. I like that top-down isometric type view. Kind of gives me some Diablo vibes there. Definitely some Helldivers vibes. And this is clearly, you know, kind of in that vein. I guess the big difference here between Helldivers is you are a named character. They are personalities. So, you know, Elsa is a personality versus Guillotine is a personality. And there are others as well. And you're going to find the one that, you know, kind of suits your play style. And then obviously there's skins and there's, you know, the progression that you get towards that individual character that, you know, you may just get so strong with a single character. You may not want to go anywhere else. You may say, you know what, I'm perfectly content here. But I find games like these, you know, what they really thrive on to me is that difficulty spike. And I'm not asking for a Dark Souls type or Demon Souls type of game where it's impossible, but there needs to be risk and reward. And I feel like that is the key tenet that this game is currently missing, because the choices that you make in terms of upgrades, getting them all just makes you a god. And it's fun to just go through and mindlessly click and blast things for a while, but it's not going to stay very long. Now, this is the first set of difficulty. There are harder missions later on. There are different starred level difficulty missions, which do increase the difficulty, obviously, but I feel like it's too sandbaggy in the sense that it's going to start off incredibly easy, and then, bam, it's going to be just, what hit me, I'm dead. And that's exactly what happened to me on my first playthrough, and this is what you're looking at, it's the very first time I played. I think that's, you know, kind of what happened, is not really understanding the mechanics and kind of being a little confused on where I'm supposed to stand and how much damage do I really take. Additionally, I did not spec into any sort of defensive abilities at all. I went purely offense because I felt like I was a glass cannon. I might as well just own it. And I think that is where kind of this game, you know, like I said, it could definitely improve a bit on. But I think the foundation is here. It's fun. You know, when you die and you play again with another character, you just get another number of that character. Because you play with them, they get this like buff that's this VIP buff that, you know, makes subsequent playthroughs with them act slightly differently, which is kind of nice. So they put some thought into it. I just don't know how many runs in a game like this you would really go through. You know, right now I'm struggling with Returnal because the runs are just too long. They're very, very long and boring, and it takes a long time to gear up. I can honestly say with a game like this, you're going to jump into the action incredibly quickly. I think that's something that really helps it out because you're not like wasting time like waiting for the character screen to load, and like you're not wasting time, you know, grinding for multiple levels. You get into the action and you're going to get some really cool mods very rapidly. Very, very rapidly. I mean, there you could say I've already maxed out one of the mods that's called the aggressive mod. So I'm already, I feel like, in a pretty good place leading into this. And as you can see, my health, it hasn't really bumped other than that first level is a little dicey for a brief moment. Enemies aren't even getting near me. I'm to the point where I'm not even moving out of the way. I'm just standing and left clicking on what I need to kill. I'm not really having to worry too much about kiting enemies back because I'm just melting them so quickly. And this plays very, very different than that melee character. The melee character, you know, you got to get up close and personal, and that's almost too hard because enemies could stun lock you. Here, I don't even really think I saw much of what the offense was in some of these enemies. They just died instantly. Like, I assume those bugs explode when they get near you. That's my guess, at least. Maybe because, I don't know. I mean, some of them do shoot at you, and I do have to dodge occasionally, but not really. The other thing you're noticing is a lot of the artifacting in the map. There is definitely some work that needs to be done here in terms of the overall graphic design. I think the music is good. I don't know if it necessarily matches the tone of the gameplay. You'll start off a level and it's this hard, intense kind of rock music, and you're just standing there like looking around like, where's the bad guys? So I feel like maybe some attention could be put into that in terms of ramping up the music to make some of these big hero moments feel more impactful. You know, definitely it would give you a good indication that like something's happening. But when you just have like this default music playing at the exact same level throughout the entire level, and it doesn't really seem to impact, oh, I'm getting close to the end, or oh, I'm getting close to some sort of enemy, it does kind of take away a little bit from, I think, some of the experience. But you'll see here, wrapping up the review, moving on to, you know, the final worlds and absolutely getting slaughtered by this boss, which is just hysterical that, like, I could die this fast. Here I am thinking I'm some, like, tough character, and I'm not. And this is yet another example this is actually level 4. I got one more level after this. This is another example of some of the sandbagging this, where, you know, I'm going to shoot these, you know, once I figure out I got to destroy and basically collect these battle workers, they are shooting so fast. That I'm just kind of like picking my own upgrades, and like, because when you're in this upgrade menu, the game's still playing. It's not like the world stops. Yeah, I'm just looking at upgrades and walking around and like, oh, what does this ability do? And these guys are just going to town and just absolutely annihilating things. So I'm just kind of letting them do their own thing and just laughing about it. Yeah, I think there's some, like I said, I think there's definitely some improvement that could be done here, but it's fun. And I appreciate that we are getting to have an early look at this. You know, it's E3, I got to give this developer credit for putting a beta out there. A lot of them don't. A lot of them just show you something, it's wish list that goes straight into early access. There's really not a lot of kind of early looks or anything like this. This does feel at times like a pretty budgety game just based on how, like I said, some of the technical issues that I'm seeing. But it does offer co-op, and I think that is probably its best saving grace. I didn't have any extra review codes, nor were any of my friends on at the time I played this, but this does support 2 players. I think some of the most fun I had with a game comparable to this, like Helldivers, was playing with my friend Sid on PlayStation. and some of the trouble we'd get into trying to spread out to do levels quicker, or how the challenges seemed to increase, or there were multiple tasks that needed to be done in a very short amount of time. I don't see a variety of that here yet. I do see a lot of go stand in a room and fight waves of enemies, or stand on this pad until a meter fills up and then you're done with the level, or fight the final boss or a boss to complete this particular mission and move on. There's definitely not that level of diversity in this game yet. I hope it comes. I hope that there are different things like in Helldivers that do force you to change the way you move, for example. Maybe carrying some sort of oil can and you have to use a secondary gun, or you move slower, or your abilities are on cooldown longer, or there is some other kind of trade-off for these things, because I'm just upgrading like a fiend. But here's where I close out the video. I'm going to go up against this final boss and get absolutely demolished. There was weird times in this boss fight where for some reason the enemy was invulnerable. I didn't really understand that logic. The lasers obviously did a significant amount of damage to me, and I was kind of caught off guard by just how quickly I melted. The boss design is a bit uninspiring, fighting a diamond with some sort of wheels around him, but the attack patterns did make logical sense. And I was mostly focused on his health bar at the time, just kind of seeing, like, you know, what kind of damage was I doing against him. But as you can see, my particular health just is chunking very, very quickly. I've already lost, you know, a significant amount, a quarter of my health just from like 1 or 2 basic attacks. And as I go through these laser hits, here's an example. This enemy's invulnerable. I didn't know why he was invulnerable then. I'm trying to get up close to him and shoot him. You see those lasers cutting through me for about 10,000 HP a hit. There needs to be more cues, I think, on kind of where it is. So as I die, I'll close out this video and I'll just say, you know, it's an interesting game. I think it needs a little bit more work before it's something I would be like totally ready to invest in. But I think it does have some good promise. And I like the art style. Like I said, it's got that Destiny kind of Halo-y robot vibe to it, and I'm digging that. So I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts on Anvil. Leave some questions or comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.